This is the Bloody Disgusting Podcast Network.
We're gonna carry on and plan the sequel, because let's face it, baby, these days, you gotta have a sequel.
And welcome back to Micro Queers, your weekly queer horror short roundup, and I'm Joe.
And I'm Trace, and we're talking a short film that lives up to its classification as a short film.
Yeah, when I sent this to you, I did mention that we are starting to run out of the shorts, so we should probably enjoy a 3-minute short until we have to start digging into some of those 20-minute ones.
Yeah, so we're talking Daisy, everybody, and it is 3 minutes long. It's also pretty disturbing.
I liked it, yeah. I mean, I could not find much information about this. I couldn't find any interviews with director Camille Dunn, and there was one write-up, which was basically a plot synopsis and a general overall feeling about it. So I do think that this is one of those shorts that's kind of gone under the radar.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the problems is that the name of this short is really challenging. Like, if you even put in Daisy short 2017, like 5 other ones come up.
Yeah, I can imagine how that's probably the case. I mean, again, because am I remembering this correctly? It's not just a short that was released in festivals, right? Like, this was part of Crypt TV Monster Universe.
Yeah, I'm not sure if Crypt TV is on par with Alter, which is the other short horror series that seems to be very popular on YouTube, but I get the impression that this idea of Monster Within, like hashtag Monster Within, was a recurring film classification, or maybe a way that they were encouraging filmmakers to make shorts and then they captured them together. But
right.
Yeah, it's definitely presented here under this Monster Universe banner.
Well, their YouTube channel has almost 3.5 million subscribers, so that's good for them. But yeah, I mean, despite like all those subscribers, though, this short does have over 300,000 views, so that's pretty good for, I mean, again, a queer horror short.
Yeah, so as always, the log lines for these shorts is quite short. So the description of the short is: a young couple moves into an apartment previously occupied by a religious cult. What horrors remain in these halls?
Okay, so I didn't even read the log line before I watched it. I just watched it because I was like, 3 minutes, go. I got the impression that it was like, okay, someone lived in the house before, and it was a lesbian whose father was like a preacher or really religious, and, you know, did the stuff to his daughter, like cut her tongue out, sewed her eyes shut, whatever. I'm sorry, pulled her eyes out and then sewed them shut.
Correct, yes.
To, like, cleanse her of, like, the gay demon that was inside of her or whatever.
That seems to be the common reading. Yeah, so when you look at it, I don't think the cult aspect is actually very clear. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, the film starts very abruptly with these flashes of violence, but it's over before it even begins. And then we're just spending time in the present with these 2 lesbians who are moving into this new house, and they're so excited. And then we kind of flash back and get a little bit more insight into what happened. But the cult aspect doesn't come through.
No, I very much thought it was just like a father or even father figure, or I mean even just a reverend with no relation. I don't even know, because we don't even really get a good view of what happened in the past, and we also don't know what time period that was set in.
Correct. Yeah, the implication seems to be that the house is haunted by these spirits, but the clothing in the flashbacks looks older, and obviously the lesbians who have moved in, it seems to be contemporary. But to provide you with context, the cast list says that it is Daisy and then Dad. So it could be still a preacher or a reverend, but it is a family relationship. So this is violence enacted by a father onto a daughter.
And so then what we have, though, is we have essentially the ghost of Daisy, who is enacting the same punishment on these 2 lesbians, an interracial couple, mind you.
Yeah.
That she underwent. And I do wonder, I mean, again, it's a 3-minute short. We can't really... It doesn't
we can only speculate.
Right, but I do wonder if it's like, okay, is this something that happens in this house? Like, is it a haunted house, so she just does this to everyone that comes in?
Yeah, is it Murder House?
Yeah, or is it like, oh no, it's just because these 2 women are lesbians, and she that triggers her, and that's what sets off her punishment.
Yeah. And I think you can read it either way.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously, the darker one for us as queer folks is the idea that she, a potentially closeted lesbian, or maybe a lesbian who was living in a closeted household, would enact the same kind of violence afflicted on her onto someone else, which is like, oof, that's a little heavier.
Well, yeah, I mean, it could also go into some internalized homophobia, and like, you know, obviously, if you're queer and you're growing up in a religious household, you know, you're told you're wrong. Sorry. So I started reading The Velvet Rage after our cruising episode.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm getting a lot of that into my brain right now. So it's all like in my head.
Oh, yeah.
But
you've gone rogue, haven't you?
a little bit. No, but like, you know, being told that you're wrong, or the way you are, the way you exist is inherently corrupt or not right. It takes a toll on you. And so, I mean, I do wish that this short actually was longer so we could delve into more of like what's going on here. I do love the effects and the gore and all that. Like, it's really gnarly.
Good.
Yeah. Well, even the editing, right? Like, there's a shot, like a really like a split-second shot of an eye being plucked out, and it's just like, ooh, I turned away from the screen.
Yeah, as always, we've got that old stalwart, which is fingers being pulled out as somebody gets dragged across a floor.
Oh, no, the fingernails. Yes, you're correct.
Oh, sorry, fingernails. Yes, not whole fingers.
No, and that was a really good effect, too.
Yeah, this is one of those things where my own inherent bias against shorts comes into play, where I think, oh, well, you know, there's not a lot of buzz around this short. I don't know who this director is. And then you go into it thinking it's probably not going to be that good. Or if there is gore, they're going to have to be very strategic because it's probably not going to look great. And then you get this and it's like, oh, this is ooey gooey goodness.
Yeah. So on that note, then, would you like to see this as a feature film?
So I'll admit that this short would have benefited from more fleshing out in terms of the backstory. Like, I actually really like these two lesbians, Alma and Jasmine, and I would have loved to have learned more about them. But I was less interested in the idea of a cult that persecutes women. Like, that just feels a little too familiar. So I like the idea of lesbians moving into a new home and being haunted and having to deal with that, but less so the kind of religious violence storyline.
I agree with that 100%. And I do think it would be kind of cool if it's like, yeah, like, just let it be a father figure or even a preacher father figure that did this to Daisy. And
not a whole-blown cult.
No cult. No, I don't need a cult. Like, I just need, like, you know, the pain inflicted on Daisy and how being like growing up in a religious household as a queer woman like affected her. And like I know I've been making this comparison a lot. Maybe I don't know what I just did it on recently, but it felt do something kind of grudgy with it. Oh, it was Candyman 2 actually, which came out earlier this week, where it's like, okay, maybe because I don't like the idea of it's like, oh, she's a ghost lesbian who's now inflicting the pain that was put upon her onto other lesbians for being lesbians. I almost would rather it be like a grudge type thing where it's like, oh, it's like the embodiment of the homophobia that her father held against her that is like manifested in the form of her, like, you know, not scarred body, but like mutilated body, in the form of her mutilated body to like then like basically carry out his wishes almost. So it's where like really the father's the bad guy in the thing in the end. I don't know.
Right. So you want gay grudge is what you're saying? Kind
of, yeah. I mean, I'd watch it.
And they can market it with that tagline.
But, you know, make it like an 80-minute movie. Don't have like the weird timeline shit where we're going back and forth all over. Actually, well, you could.
I would like the timeline shift. I actually thought that was really effective, particularly when we were seeing the violence and it was like, who's doing what to whom? I like that.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, again, I think that's the benefit of a short film being so short is that you can open it up so much. So it's really up to us to speculate, oh, what could you do with what's essentially really a premise?
Yeah, this is a starting point, and the directions you could take it in are kind of unlimited.
Yeah. Well, listeners, let us know what you thought of Daisy. Would you see this as a feature film? Do you think it's filmed really well like we do? I don't know. Give us Daisy for your thoughts.
Aww.
But on that note, I think we can cross out Daisy.
Yes, and cross out microqueers.
Disgusting Podcast Network, home of creepy, disturbing, and terrifying creepypastas, SCP archives, weekly full cast storytelling, the Pora Queers, genre commentary from an LGBTQ perspective, and the Boo Crew, for horror-centric interviews. Listen free wherever you stream audio and at bloodydisgusting.com/podcasts.
It was late in the afternoon when the professor and I took our way towards the east, whence I knew Jonathan was coming.
Jonathan Harker has asked me to note this, as he says he is hardly equal to the task, and he wants an exact record kept.
Dear Madam Mina, I have read your husband's so wonderful diary. Strange and terrible as it is true. I will pledge my life on it.
God preserve my sanity, for to this I am reduced. Safety and the assurance of safety are things of the past.
I am in hopes that I shall see more of you at Castle Dracula.
Listen to Regarding Dracula wherever you listen to podcasts, or find us online at bloody.fm.